Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Run Amok Sunday Show, your fix for football Sunday. I'm along some very special co-hosts. It's all of our shows, fellas. So we of course have actually, I'll let y'all introduce yourselves. We'll start with the two that have already been here, and then our new faces join in. Y'all can go ahead.
All right, I guess they must know me by now. SFD Lev, don't matter to me. I'm back. We're better. Let's go.
Go.
Gramps up in the building. It's on Joe up here. That boy Bean. You know what we do. You know what we do about to whip these boys in another game. Run it back. Run it back.
You forgot to hit him with the bang bang Niner gang.
Oh, real. Yeah.
Hey, that's man. Bang, 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 bang.
There it is. There it is. Alrighty.
All right, I'm BD Loden, famously known for glazing the Chiefs in the group chat. Let's get to
Very
work.
much so. There we go. Welcome, welcome.
I'm Nick, and I'm happy to be here. Let's get a fly, Eagles fly. Lucas. Lucas likes that.
Yes, sir, man. Fly Eagles fly, baby. I'm Lucas. I go to SJ with Javin. We met freshman orientation, and now I'm tied with this family across the U.S. It's pretty awesome.
Alrighty. Alrighty. So I think yeah, let's dive right in. We got a lot to talk about, a lot of really good stuff going on around the league. Of course, we're in the midst of NFL free agency. A lot of big stars going to a lot of big teams. Let's just start it off. Let's go with Kirk Cousins, probably the best quarterback that was out there. Goes to the Atlanta Falcons. That offense seems stacked, but I don't know. I'm kind of just iffy about it. I don't love it. I was very big on the Justin Fields to Atlanta train. Obviously, I didn't get my wish. But what do y'all think about this? What do y'all think about the Falcons' expectations going into next year?
First of all, I don't like the disrespect Kirk Cousins getting to the Falcons situation because I understand the Justin Fields thing. And again, I mentioned it last episode or last week. I'm not a big Kirko fan, but he fits the Shanahan system very well. And Raheem Morris does kind of stem from that. And I'm not saying he's going to be a dink and dunker, but if you had to choose a dink and dunker, I'd choose Kirk Cousins, especially with all the weapons he's surrounded by. He's a veteran who's been doing it for a while. He was playing at almost an MVP level before he got injured last week or last year. And again, surround him with all these young talents who need that mentor to basically elevate their game. I think it's a win-win because you haven't. What was it? A 3 year? Was it 3 or 4 years?
4 year
Someone correct me real
deal.
quick.
Yeah,
I thought it was I thought it was gonna be a 3 year deal, but 4 years of Kirk Cousins, and he's barely gonna be 39 by the end of that contract.
Yeah.
I say go for it. It's a good way. You could get a rookie quarterback later on. You don't have to do it immediately right now. You can do it probably next year or the year after, and have him sit behind Kirko. But yeah, I like the fit. I like the fit. The more I thought about it.
I'm agree with Joe on that one. I remember last week I had said that I thought Kirk to Atlanta was just a temporary solution, but after I heard Joe's thoughts, I low key did start to agree with it. I really do like the roster that's on the offense for the Falcons, and now you're adding Kirk who can sling that thing. Man, I'm seeing a really big season from Cal Pitts. Drake London's finally gonna be the top 10 guy that he was sought out to be. I think he's gonna do a really good job setting up those young guys, as Joe said. So if I had to grade it, I'd still give it like a B, right in the middle. It's not the biggest long-term solution, but I think it's a great thing they could do now, and especially in their weak division, they're definitely a playoff team in my opinion.
I agree. And with the NFC South, I feel like it's still pretty weak talent if you just take out Tampa. I think New Orleans and Carolina doesn't really belong in the playoff conversation as of now. And I think there was two things that Atlanta was really lacking in the last couple of seasons, and it really was just a good head coach and a good quarterback. And obviously, we don't know if Raheem Morris is going to fit as a good coach, but I think it's kind of easy to be better than Arthur Smith in any situation, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But Kirk Cousins really is the quarterback that Atlanta has been needing since Matt Ryan. And my only concern about it is just that this is another free agent veteran quarterback signing that we've seen in the last 3 years. It was Russell Wilson 2 years ago, Rodgers last year, and now Kirk. But the last two signings, we haven't seen the actual hype that was given behind it. I know Rodgers' situation was kind of unfortunate, and Russ wasn't really given a good position to succeed. So hopefully Kirk is able to have a good spot to succeed because there's so many guys in that Atlanta offense that has so much potential and talent, yet we haven't seen any of it. Like especially for Bijan, I don't think he was used properly last year. Drake London, we know how much talent he has, and especially Kyle Pitts. Like I haven't given up on the guy yet. I've been very big on him ever since he's gone drafted, but with the philosophy Arthur Smith had, he used him as a blocking tight end, and we never got to see him with targets. So I think that if Kirk can actually like start giving the ball around to these guys and distributing them, and they got Darnell Mooney too, by the way. I think that's kind of a underrated signing. Like there's so many players around this Atlanta offense now where I could truly see them being like a top 3 team in the NFC.
Yeah, no. Definitely, I agree with what everyone said about Kirk Cousins. Also, because Raheem Morris is the defensive side of the ball, I do want to shout out their new offensive coordinator, Zach Robinson. He's been the pass game coordinator, quarterbacks coach for the Rams for the past 2-3 years, working with Stafford. I think he can be a really good offensive coordinator, and I think his play calling with Kirk Cousins and you mentioned Mooney, who I completely forgot about. I think London finally has a big year. Pitts, like with everything they have, I think they're primed to have a really good offense this year. I guess their biggest weak point on the offense would be their O line, but they still have Lindstrom. Matthews is a solid tackle. Maybe they'll go guard or right tackle in the draft. I don't know.
Yeah, I personally like the Falcons move a lot. They got a really high floor per quarterback. I think it's something that the Falcons needed really badly because they have all these young players like Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Darnell Mooney, who was kind of up and down in Chicago. So having Kirk Cousins and, like you said, Zach Robinson as their offensive coordinator in that Shanahan system that Sean McVay obviously got from Shanahan is going to be very helpful for that team. And I do
And
believe
they
they're,
also, I forgot they got Rondell Moore when they traded
Oh,
Ritter
yeah,
too.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
we
another
were
weapon.
forgetting
they're,
Yeah.
they're pretty stacked. They're pretty stacked.
Yeah.
They have a lot of potential in that wide receiver room.
Yeah, I just don't give a damn though. I think Kirk Cousins has a ceiling. I think this is a 10, maybe 11 win team. They ain't gonna get past no division. I think divisional round is their ceiling. We'll hear dark horse super contenders, this and that. I'll be wrong, dang it. But I think, with all due respect to Kirk, like the Vikings Twitter was all over. They were saying, thank you for the yards. He's never had any playoff success. I don't think it's great. I would have banked on the potential with Fields with the young team you have. But I do agree with what Daniel was saying there. There is a high floor, and I think 8-9 games is the minimum. Versus with someone like Fields, you might win like 4 or 5 games. But
Yep.
yeah, I just
I'm gonna pitch in real quick for that. Like he doesn't do well in the playoffs. I don't think his job is to win it all. His job is to get them to the playoffs. And then again, whichever young quarterback they have sit behind him, learn from his mistakes, and then you are the one who are gonna get us through the playoffs. Because again, that's such a weak division. I can very much see them every year on Kirko's like contract being within that striking range. If not the like what 7th seed, maybe like if they win their division. But yeah, I think it should be smooth sailing for them.
yeah, whatever. We'll see. I'm not a fan. Ah, they got a weak division. They're lucky. If they were in any other division, I think it would be a lot tougher for them. Anyway, let's move on to the next signing, which is going to make our Philly fans real happy here. Let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. They made a lot of big moves. Of course, Howie Roseman, he knew that this team needed to get a lot better in a lot of different positions. At first, make the big splash with Saquon Barkley stealing them from the New York Giants. I'll let the Philly fans take this away. They got the floor. Let's hear what y'all got to say about this.
Yeah. I mean, I love this signing. Behind the Giants, awful offensive line. I think they've been like bottom 5, bottom 3 in like run protection for the past like 4 seasons. And he was able to produce there. And I think coming here, having the better offensive line, I trust Jurgens didn't give up a sack last year. He's a good run defender. I think he'll obviously you can't replace Jason Kelsey, but I think he'll do a good enough job. And obviously, so Mailata, Dickerson, Lane Johnson, they'll go guard in the draft. I'm not sure, but regardless, it should still be a very solid line, and I think that will help him to stay healthy. I mean, that helped Swift last year also had injury concerns, and he had a healthy Pro Bowl season. I definitely think Barkley is an upgrade over Swift, and I'm excited to see him in action with the team.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'm a little concerned about is just the injury concerns with Saquon,
Yeah.
but I feel like he's been pretty good the past 2 seasons. I think he's only missed like a total of about 6 games. For him, it's pretty impressive. But I was kind of shocked and not shocked at the same time because I wouldn't expect Howie to dime in for such big money for a running back. Like we've
No.
seen that he's been buy low recently, but we made Miles Sanders look like a top 10 running back. We made DeAndre Swift look like a top 10 running back. Just imagine what Saquon Barkley can produce with this
Oh,
offensive line. If you look at every statistical aspect from the Giants offensive line, they were like bottom 5 in every stat imaginable. And if you take a look at the Philadelphia Eagles, I know we're losing Jason Kelsey, but like you said, I'm pretty confident on Cam Jurgens. We're still a top 5 offensive line. So if we could get Saquon healthy, and if our coordinators can actually realize that running the ball is our full potential, Saquon Barkley can go for like a 1,600 rushing yard season next year.
Mhm.
So I'm personally very excited about it. I think that Saquon can actually be a top 3 running back this year if he could just simply stay healthy. Because if you give him the ball, he's going to succeed.
I
Yeah,
agree
health
with
is
both
definitely the
the
biggest
Philly
issue.
guys for sure. I love the Saquon pickup. I not only that, but I really do think the Eagles have had one of the best free agencies this year. But I mean, I exactly with what Lucas said. Really, the with how good the Eagles O line is, they can make any running back look good. And the reality of it is that neither of the two running backs they've had in the past with Miles Sanders or DeAndre Swift, they've both been really average running backs. If it wasn't for the line, I believe this year I saw a statistic that DeAndre Swift was gaining 3.2 yards before contact, and after contact, he would have gotten 3.5 yards. So the second he got touched, he would go down. He wouldn't do anything past that. So now you're basically putting in Saquon, who you touch him, he's probably going to get more yards than when he's not untouched. And with how that Eagles O line is, I completely agree. 1,500 yards, I wouldn't even see that as very impossible. I think that's very possible for Saquon. I think it's going to take a huge, it's going to give Jalen Hurts a lot of relief because now they're going to have, instead of a slight inconsistent run game, they're going to have a very consistent run game. They're going to be able to feed him the ball. You're not going to have to give him the ball 25 times a game like the Giants did for him to get 100 yards. You can give Saquon 15 handoffs now and he'll get you 130 yards behind that line. I love the Saquon pickup, and honestly for the price it was pretty damn good. I would have thought a team would be willing to pay him slightly more than that, so I think it was a great pickup for Philadelphia.
You guys are talking about like the injury concern. My thing with the injury concern is what did he do on the Giants? He was the Giants offense. Name me a notable wide receiver. You know, like he literally carried that offense. So what do you do to plan that? Stop the run, stop Saquon. And because they're putting so much resources in there, now look who he has as his surrounding cast. You got a mobile quarterback in Jalen Hurts as well. You got freaking AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, like like you have Dallas Goddard. Like Saquon doesn't have to do everything anymore. So now this man has a good O line in front of him. I don't think injury is going to be a concern because it's the same situation with CMC going to the 49ers. CMC was that offense over there. He came over here, the workload was off his shoulders, everything was just smooth sailing. All I had to do was do my job, and we all benefited from it. And we're not even talking about the defensive like additions they're making. We're only talking about Saquon right now. Their whole thing was the middle of their field was getting gashed left and right. Niners exposed them. I said that last time. They picked up a decent. I am I allowed to call him a decent linebacker? Like I
I
like
think
him,
so.
but like
Yeah.
yeah, I think he's pretty solid. And then you bring back C.J. Gardner Johnson, and I feel like he very much was the missing piece. And him leaving, you guys felt that a lot. So this man can very much cover that middle, cover whatever he's at. Boom, boy, and like you kind of need that with that, like, especially with how everything went last season, with everything falling apart left and right. So I'm not surprised how he made all these moves because in my ear, all I can hear is, "Oh my God, what an astronomical collapse! We got to study that. Like, look at the Eagles, first round exit." Yeah, no, fuck that. I'm bringing my team back, and the Niners, we do have to worry about them. I'm not even gonna lie, and we're not even gonna talk about their coordinators. Kellen Moore with Saquon Barkley and that offense, I feel like he should explode with that, and their defense should be pretty solid. I'm a big Fangio fan, so I have hope for you guys. Still bang bang Niner gang though.
I think y'all are forgetting about Bryce Huff too, because we
Yeah.
got
Oh
Bryce
yeah,
Huff
I
for
love
3
that
years, and
signing.
he's
Yeah.
actually my favorite signing of this offseason. Him and CJ were really
Hands
the two
down,
big
hands
deals
down.
for me, because for CJ, I feel like CJ just had like a fire inside of him. Like he really brought the intensity to our defense, and he's not the greatest tackler. Like I'll admit it. Like he deals with a lot of injuries, so there's those concerns around it. But I was really happy to see him actually get the money that he deserved from us, and like from all this like talk about him talking shit about Philadelphia, like it all made sense. Like we didn't even acknowledge his existence during the offseason last year. So realizing that we kind of do need him for the defense, that was big. And Bryce Huff is huge because he fills in for Fletcher Cox. He's going to be another edge rusher, I suppose. So, and he wasn't even a starter in New York. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think he
No,
was
I think
he
he was a
necessarily.
wasn't.
rotational guy.
Yeah, he was a rotational guy,
He's a
and he had 9
solid
sacks last
rotational
year.
piece though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he had 9 sacks. He was top 10 in pass rush
Yeah,
rate
I
last
mean, I
season,
would
if I'm not
with
wrong.
the money they paid him, he'll probably be a starter for us.
Now,
Yeah,
my
I
thing with
expect him.
Bryce Huff, yeah, my thing with Bryce Huff, like everyone's so focused on Brian Burns from the Panthers. You're basically getting similar production
Definitely.
for not such a big name, and the market for him wasn't as big. Like again, I thought he was gonna be a sneaky like pickup, but everyone else started jumping on his wave as everyone was doing more research on him. So I was like, you guys got a really good bargain for a really good player.
I think it's similar to how we got Reddick for cheap a couple of years ago, coming off 2 consecutive double-digit sack seasons, and then he exploded with the Eagles, came in All-Pro. I think Huff has Pro Bowl potential.
Yeah, I mean, this Eagles free agent class, it just reminds me of why Howie Roseman's so good at his job. He's just so darn good at his job. He picks up the right players for the right price. He takes risks on certain players, but it always ends up working for him and the team. So I really like this Eagles free agency class. It was one of the top ones for me.
Yeah, back on Bryce Huff, I just wanted to add in. I think it'll be interesting to see now how they handle their edge rushers, because now Sweat restructured his contract, so he's probably staying. Does it seem like Reddick is out the door now because you got Nolan Smith as well, or is it going to be rotating all those guys in?
I wonder, and I want to hear Lucas's thoughts on this. I wonder if I know Fangio likes to run a 3-4. I wonder if they try to slide Sweat inside as a 3-4 DE and then start Huff and Reddick as the outside linebackers. I don't know if that would work. I don't know if Sweat would work in that role. But if they want to keep all of those guys, and then obviously you rotate Graham and Nolan Smith in at
Yeah.
the outside linebacker spot. If they want to keep all those guys, that's really the only way I can see it working.
Yeah, I agree, because
Otherwise, Reddick is probably the option.
our linebacker core is still extremely weak, even with
Yeah,
Devin
and
White under center. So it'll be
yeah,
interesting.
I don't like starting 3 off-ball linebackers. If we could prevent it, because our defensive front is way better than our linebacker core. I'd rather have more in the front than off-ball linebackers. And then you have what's his name, Reddick, and then Huff on the edge.
Are you guys a 3-4 or 4-3?
We've ran a 4-3. I think I don't. Last year was weird because they would drop Reddick back in coverage, and they ran a 4-3, but they would line up Reddick as linebacker sometimes. But I believe Fangio runs a 3-4. I think that's what he ran in Miami. That's what he ran in Denver. Yeah,
Gotcha.
because I think Chubb and Miller came.
And in
3-4.
San Francisco,
Let's, Eagles are a fun team to talk about. Let's go to a not so fun team to talk about. I don't hide my hatred for the Tennessee Titans. I think that this is where careers go to die, but they were pretty big spenders this season. They went out and they got Tony Pollard, they got Chidobe Awuzie, Lloyd Cushenberry, Mason Rudolph. I'm just going through the list here. And then, of course, Calvin Ridley. I think they're just so meh, and I think the Titans are just going to be below average. And I feel very bad for Calvin Ridley as his career is over with now.
I think a lot of. Oh, you can go.
You go ahead, Nick. You go
Okay.
ahead.
I was just gonna say I think a lot of their success depends on Brian Callahan and his coaching staff.
That's fair.
It depends, because I know he didn't call plays in Cincinnati, but if he can be a good head coach, and if I'm blanking on who their offensive coordinator is, but if they can lead a good offense and coach well, Titans can have a good offense. But if he's another Nathaniel Hackett clipboard holder, it's going to be a disastrous season in Tennessee.
Yeah, I
And
think
I
they
think what
up a bunch
oh,
of
no, no,
mid.
no, you're good.
I mean, like Calvin Ridley and then Tony Pollard. Like those are the two most inefficient players possibly that were available at those positions this free agency. Believe it or not, I actually kind of do slightly like the Calvin Ridley the pickup if it wasn't for his contract. I mean, he
Yeah,
was
the
very
contract is-
inconsistent, but I know Angel had brought it up in the group chat. He was just not used correctly in the Jacksonville offense. Their offense is very limited. It's a one guy offense. Every play is set up for one guy specifically. And he still had 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns. I just thought if they got him for a cheaper deal, it would have been better. But no, I think they just picked up a bunch of mid. The only pickup I really liked was a Woozier, the cornerback for
Yeah.
the Bengals, and he was familiar with the offensive coordinator. What's his name again? Brian Callahan, who went to Tennessee. But no, they had a bunch of cap space to spend, like 72 million, I think. So it just made sense that they, were trying to use it all.
I was gonna say the problem I have with Tennessee, like how we joke around, like that's where receivers go to die, bury
Yeah.
their careers there. It's kind of hard because of the fact AJ Brown was their best receiver,
Yeah.
and it's like you pair elite with mid, and then you replace elite with Traylon Burks, hoping he was gonna be that. Like okay, we got rid of AJ Brown, Traylon Burks, you're the guy, and you're gonna be with the aging Julio Jones, whose AARP's coming up soon. And it's like, that didn't work out, but we don't have any receivers. Nook, hey, D Hop, you want to come on over here? You're going to do all the work. Now I'm like, D Hop, pairing him with Calvin Ridley is not mid with mid because they're both slightly above mid to a degree in my books. Like they're not elite, they're not great, but they're good. And you have two good receivers finally. So it's like one of them doesn't have to be paired with someone who's already washed out of their prime. Like, yeah, I'm just here to collect the check, boys. So I think I like it. As for the Tony Pollard thing, I don't know. He's not a 3 down back, but him splitting the field with who is their other running back?
Tajay
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 Spears.
Spears. I
Spears.
thought it was Tajay Spears season, man.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You compare both of them because neither one of them, in my opinion, is like a full 3 down back, like the workload thing. So you could just split the backfield with them, and both of them can pass catch. Both of them could just run the ball. So you give yourself way more options than just, oh yeah, one person do it all. Here, Derrick Henry, run the ball for 400 yards every game.
And now that you brought up the AJ Brown thing with the Titans, I know a lot of people are going back to the fact that they gave Ridley the 4-year 94.
Yeah, I was
They
gonna say that,
didn't
man.
want to
It's
give
crazy.
AJ the 4-year 100. It's just like, wow. A couple years later now, they're definitely starting to excited the way the wide receiver market has definitely
Yeah,
shifted.
that's the stupid part about it. They didn't pay him, and they messed it up for everyone. How are my 49ers supposed to re-sign Brandon Ayuk now, bro?
Yeah, man.
Let's not forget that there is a new GM in Tennessee.
That's fair too.
And when that AJ
It
Brown
isn't.
happened, who was that? Who was the GM? I forget his name. But
Yeah, he got fired the
He got
game
fired
after they
because of
played
it,
the
yeah.
Eagles.
He ended up getting fired.
After AJ Brown cooked them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And also,
Okay.
looking at the Titans depth chart, their defense is also pretty bad.
There's so many holes
like,
on the entire roster. Yeah.
The only way they compete is if their offense is really good because they have Jeffrey Simmons, Awuzie, a couple mid players, and nobody else on defense.
Yeah.
And even like Will Levis, like we don't really know how good he's gonna be either. So it's just the whole team is such a question mark.
I
mean,
definitely think they're still the bottom of the
Yeah.
AFC South.
absolutely.
I think they could be better than Jacksonville this year. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Oh,
I think they might be a little
Jacksonville
better.
made some underrated moves in free agency.
Yeah, I don't know, but Jacksonville just looked so stagnant in the second half of last season. Like, I'm not saying that Tennessee is going to be that good, but Jacksonville looked god awful in the second half of last. They lost everything that they had going their way, and they just completely it dissolved in the last few games in the season. I don't think Tennessee is still going to be ultimately great, but I actually kind of like the moves a little bit. I just think that it helps Levis out to make him blossom as a pretty solid starter. Because I don't know, like I'm not super sold on Levis, but I think that he could be a pretty good quarterback. I still can't believe he dropped like what, the third round last year after he was projected to be a top 10 pick. So I think Ridley and D-Hop's not a bad receiving core at all. I think the Pollard signing is not bad because I think the Cowboys just did not use him properly last year. I think they overused him, and having him and Tajay, I'm kind of a fan of that right now. I'm not gonna lie. I think that it gives room for Tajay to be Tony
You get the
Pollard that he
vibes. You
was
get
with
the
Zeke.
vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. You get the vibes.
I
I
guess
think
so, yeah.
Tajay
Somebody got to
right
be
now.
positive about the Titans here.
I don't want to be too positive, but I think the way how Tajay is being used right now is going to be similar how Pollard was used with the Cowboys when they had Zeke. I'm not saying he's going to break
Hmm.
out in that extinct, but they're going to notice that there's some explosiveness toward Tajay, and they're going to use him as their RB2, but it's going to be pretty split. And I could totally see Tajay getting more of the reps as the season progresses. So I don't know. I think something might happen for the offense, but there's still, again, like you said, Javin, there's so many holes that are missing on that
Do
team.
you guys
But
see their? Oh, I was gonna ask a question real quick. I'll let you finish your point. My bad.
I know you're good. I just think, yeah, it's all on coaching, it's all on management. But I'm actually kind of excited that the Titans are moving away from Derrick Henry because there's just only a certain matter of time that you can't just rely on one dude.
Yeah.
Like unlike the Giants, like they're moving on from Saquon, but they didn't get anything back for offense. While for the Titans, they've kind of rebuilt how they want their offense to be used as without Derrick Henry. So I'll give Tennessee their flowers for that because they could have done absolutely nothing, and we could be talking about how they could be a 2-3 win team next season. But they actually cared enough to fix their offense to help out Levis a bit. So I'm slightly
5
optimistic
wins.
about that.
5
You
wins.
guys,
Okay, so my question in regards to the Tennessee Titans offense now is: do we see the duo of Tony Pollard and Tajon Spears being utilized the same way that the Lions utilized both David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, or like how do you guys see that playing out?
I think it's a slightly different duo that they have because of what you had brought up in the last session, which was they're both not really third down backs. They're with if you look at David Montgomery, he's a little bit of both. You know, you can play him on a third down. He could push for the heavy yards. I feel like with Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears, they're both kind of, as you said, they're not third down backs. They're kind of like the softer running backs who excel more on first and second downs. But I wouldn't be surprised if they could try to shift Tajay in that position because of just his weight. He's just a little bit bigger, a little bit thicker, stronger than
Exactly what I was thinking too.
so I think if they're able to put him in that role and obviously both still have him play like their soft game, I think that would be really nice for them. And I wouldn't be surprised if they get close to about what the Montgomery and Gibbs duo is. So yeah, I do like that.
so I just had a question for you guys, and I was wondering if they become a more pass heavy offense or remain a run heavy offense. With all the like with the Calvin Ridley signing, wanting to see if Will Levis is can throw. I mean, and we know he has an arm, but you maybe want to find out, or if they remain that run heavy team that they've been for years already.
I think that was Vrabel's identity. Personally, I think that
Yeah.
was. I think that they're gonna take a total 180. And my whole thing with this is where receivers going to die. I might have to come back and eat my words on it.
Bite the
I
bullet.
hope I do. I feel like that'll be a really fun offense to watch if it's just Levis just slinging it every week, and you got Ridley, Hopkins. Even if we can see Treylon Burks pop off, I think that they could be really fun. And yeah, I think that was mostly Vrabel. So we'll see. What do y'all think?
I
I don't
agree.
think that. Yeah, I don't think they have a strong enough runner to do what Derrick Henry did. So I feel like it's going to be a very balanced offense. If anything, I want to see them kind of mimic the Lions and or the Houston Texans. So like, especially since the Texans are in their division, it's like if you can't beat them, at least do what they're doing and try to be better at it.
Yeah.
I don't think they have a good defense at all anymore, which is kind of why I could see them shifting to a pass heavy offense, especially if they're going to get down early in some of these games. Like I could totally see Levis going for 4,000 yards next year, just due to having a pretty poor defense, and they're going to they're going to rely on his production more than anything else. So I don't know. I just think that they're going to be forced to be a pass heavy offense rather than anything else. They might want to be balanced, but I could totally see them being more pass heavy.
Considering their division too, you have CJ Stroud there, you have T Law and Anthony Richardson coming back with the Colts. Like you need to get into shootouts in that division. Like as trash as it is, Like they're not gonna play defense in that division whatsoever.
No.
Everyone's gonna pull up with the big guns and just start blasting.
Air raid.
I'm excited about the AFC South next season. I'm not gonna lie, just in terms of the offensive standpoint, like I
honestly.
think there's 4 really good young quarterbacks in that division. I think those divisional games will be a lot of fun. If you like high scoring football, like it's gonna be fun to watch.
For sure. Yeah. I think pretty good segue, unless there's any last thoughts on the Titans. Pretty good segue onto Derrick Henry and the Baltimore Ravens. How much does he help the Ravens offense? We've seen, obviously they've been a very efficient run game, but AFC Championship game, they kind of went away from the run. Very interesting. Henry, of course, he's getting a little older, but I think Baltimore definitely would welcome him, and I think that they should go out and sign J.K. Dobbins as well. And I think that Thunder and Lightning 1-2 punch would be really nasty.
I really like the Henry pickup for the Ravens. They needed a tough runner, and I also still like Keaton Mitchell from
Mm-hmm.
last year. So I think it would be a nice little. I don't think it's going to be a 50-50 split. Definitely not going to be that way. But I think if it's a 75-25 or even a 60-40 with Henry and Mitchell, that's going to be a really good combination of heavy running and then Mitchell that can just take a 2 yard, rush into 30, 40 yards. I think they've set themselves up pretty nicely to have a good rush attack.
A nice 1-2 punch.
Yeah, a 1-2 punch. Yep.
Y'all missing the third punch.
Oh,
Quarterback
of course.
spy on
Yeah.
Lamar.
Oh,
Quarterback
yes,
spy
of
on
course,
Lamar
of
Jackson
course.
1, 2,
leaves
3
wide
punch.
open lanes. Yep,
Yep.
like quarterback spy on Lamar Jackson leaves one linebacker off of Derrick Henry. And that man, if you get a one-on-one with one linebacker, oh, he's gone.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I stopped Derrick Henry for now. He's taking a breather. Oh shit, J.K. Dobbins and like Keaton Mitchell are now going to beat me up too. And I still got to worry about Lamar Jackson over there. Like that offense is going to be pretty explosive, and like the dynamic is going to work really well for them.
Yeah, and I also think their pass game is going to be a bigger threat this year than it has been over the past couple seasons. You have Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, it's Aguilar, who's a decent wide receiver 3, but I really like their tight end duo of Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. If they both stay healthy next year, they can both be like top 10 tight ends, top 10 in yards for tight ends. I could see them both having 800 plus yards, and I think they're both going to be great. And I do think Flowers can be good, and I still have hope for Bateman that he can develop into a solid wide receiver.
I've been
I'm
on
kind of
the Bateman train. Sorry, real quick, I just wanted to say,
No,
man,
you're
I've been
good.
waiting for the Bateman breakout for so
No,
long.
Miro.
I'm giving up.
Yeah.
I'm done with this season.
I think Zay
Yeah.
Flowers is what we thought Rashad Bateman would be.
Yeah.
Before, yeah.
I also to add on to Nick, I still think that the Ravens aren't done adding to it yet also. I wouldn't be surprised if I see the Ravens picking up a wide receiver like Keon Coleman, who's kind of,
That's what I'm thinking too.
once again,
Yeah.
another guy who's really fallen off the board lately. If they're able to pick him up early second round and they can pick up a guy like Keon Coleman to add on to the pass attack, just icing on the cake if he is able to pan out the way he's supposed to be. I think the Baltimore offense is just going to be it's going to be so hard to play against them. It really will be.
I really like Keon Coleman there actually because you got Bateman, who, of course, we're banking on him developing, but he could be that little finesse route runner. You got Zay Flowers, the speedster, and then Coleman, just that physical, nasty guy that's gonna get in your face. I would really love that because yeah, they let go of OBJ. I think that the Ravens could definitely use another receiver. But again, like they got Isaiah Likely, they got Mark Andrews, so they do have those tight end threats. But yeah, I actually really love Coleman to Baltimore if they can get him in the second round. Yeah.
On the whole, like getting him in the early second, why do that when you could just get him at the end of the first? You know,
I don't think he's worth the first round pick. He's good. I
I
don't
don't
think
think so either. But like early, like late first, early second is basically the same thing. Like if you're picking
that's
anywhere
fair
past
too.
29, in my like opinion, it doesn't really matter.
That's fair. That's a fair point. Yeah.
Better
But
safe than sorry in case another team picks him up at 31 to 32. You never know. So I could definitely
Oh,
see
you don't
that.
got to worry about the Niners on that one.
but then you gotta think if the Ravens are gonna go receiver in the first round, AD Mitchell might be there, and I think he's probably a better guy than Coleman, and I think that would be really nasty as well. And it blocks the Chiefs from getting him, so I'm definitely for that.
I'm just kind of shocked they paid for Henry like a lot of money because
Yeah.
knowing like I feel like Baltimore in terms of how they use running backs, it's kind of similar to how the Eagles like just underpay players and they don't target like really high name guys. So when I saw Derrick Henry go to Baltimore, it kind of shocked me. I like the idea of it. I think the read option, like I think everyone noticed that from social media, like people were talking about how crazy that read option is going to be. But I would like to address, like, I don't know, the elephant in the room. I think that Derrick Henry is kind of falling off the wheels a little bit. I'm just saying, I think that he's running out of gas right now, so I think he's gotten a little overpaid. I don't know. I think it's kind of a bold take to say that. I think that this might be one of the more disappointing free agency moves going into the season. Again, I love Derrick Henry, but I think that he's getting old, and after watching him play last year, like I understand he's in a better situation in Baltimore, but I kind of saw that pattern of him losing gas, such as many running backs that we see at a certain age.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that one, like majorly. The reason why I'm disagreeing with you on that is because of the fact the most dominant team last year was the Baltimore Ravens, correct? Like, am I tripping on that? What was their one thing that stopped them from winning, like even going to the Super Bowl? Like, what made them lose against the Chiefs? The run game, and it's because they didn't have anyone they thought was reliable or reliable to a degree. And now you bring in Derrick Henry, and like, yeah, we can talk about how old he's getting, and like he definitely has a bunch of mileage on him. But if you're telling me a wash Derrick Henry still rushing for over 1,000 yards, I'll take that any day of the week. I'll definitely take that any day of the week. And again, he's not gonna have to, like, kind of with the same argument I had with Saquon Barkley. He's not gonna be the entire offense. This man has other weapons around him now. He doesn't have to carry the whole thing. He doesn't have to run 25, 30 times anymore. Give him the ball like 15 times, 15 to 20. He should be good because, again, you still got Keaton Mitchell, the read option with Lamar Jackson, the pass game that we were just talking about, and that they might establish. So, no, I really like the Derrick Henry.
I like your insight on Lucas's take, but I also will chip in on what Lucas said. I do still agree that Baltimore definitely did have a more negative free agency than it was positive. They lost a lot of depth pieces on defense, and
Yeah,
obviously
on
also
defense.
Patrick Queen was pretty huge.
They paid a lot for
So,
Matabuke too.
yeah, they
I,
did. I
They
thought they
paid a
slightly gave
lot.
him a little bit
yeah, I
of
don't.
flack for a guy who had just shined in his fourth year, I think. Like,
Yeah. I
I
mean,
don't.
he had
I mean, he
Mhm.
started to break out last year, and I think he can be good. I don't know if he'll be like the all. Was he first team All Pro this year?
No.
Either first or second. I don't know if he'll be like a top 3 IDL. I do still think that they have a solid defense overall. I mean, they have one of, if not the best safety duos in the league. Humphrey, I think he had a bit of a down year last year, but I think he's still overall solid corner. And then obviously Roquan Smith is just top 2, top 3 linebackers.
Hmm.
But yeah, I do agree. The Lev was saying where I do think aside from the Derrick Henry signing, they really don't have a lot of positives in free agency. Because I looking at their offensive line, that needs work as well. They have Linderbaum, an old Ronnie Stanley, and then their guards aren't great. Their right tackle isn't great. So that will probably be something they attack in the first 2 rounds of the draft.
I'm gonna agree with the concerns on Henry's age because I mean you got to think the way he plays, it's gonna catch up to him, and I mean, I'm sure he'll be productive. He'll still be that, real fun guy. He'll still have his highlights, but and yeah, he'll probably be that 1,000 yard rusher still. I think that'll probably be a factor of how good the Ravens rushing offense will be though. But I definitely think the concerns are real. And I mean, I don't know. Joe was saying 15, 20 carries. I don't see. I think 15 max for Henry. I don't think that the Ravens should feed him as much as he was in Tennessee, especially when you have, a backup as good as Keaton Mitchell. Let's talk about the Green Bay Packers. Josh
Yes.
Jacobs going. They dropped a bag for Xavier McKinney. The Packers have had a heck of an offseason. And for a team that's usually quiet, I think that Jacobs is a really interesting pickup. Yeah, I think that they're going to be a really good team. Of course, they're stacking up Jordan Love. I still think that they can use a receiver. I know they've got a lot of young guys. I believe they're like the youngest overall average receiving core, or youngest or cheapest. It was one of the two. It might be both. Dang it. But I think they really need that true receiver one that Watson hasn't really been. I don't think that Reed is going to be. So I think either in the draft, because free agency there isn't really many guys. Hey, maybe even a sneaky trade for T Higgins. I mean, they can go a lot of different ways. But yeah, I think Green Bay they made some really fun moves.
I agree. I think the Packers had a sneaky good free agency. I think the only thing that might drag them down their rating overall was just the Josh Jacobs and Aaron Jones thing. But I
Yeah.
actually don't really blame them as much as a lot of other people will,
Oh yeah.
simply because of the fact that we can't just ignore, his Aaron Jones's lingering hamstring injuries that he's had
Yeah.
the last 2 seasons. He's been on and off every week on the injury report if he's going to play or not. I
Mhm.
really love the Xavier McKinney signing, and I just think he's one of the most versatile, one of the best up and coming young safeties in the league. I was more than shocked that the Giants weren't even willing to tag him, to even negotiate a
That was a
contract.
shock. Yeah.
And I agree 1,000%. I do think that they're missing that dominant receiver. They thought Watson was going to be that guy. He's not that guy. Jaden Reed's more of a slot guy who can kind of be your shifty wide receiver, your first down guy, your 10 to 15-yard guy. Dontavian Wicks is kind of like a solidified wide receiver 3, but they need that wide receiver 1. They need him. It's not going to be Watson. So yeah, I agree with what you said there.
I think they have a wide receiver one, in my opinion. Just sneakily, I think Romeo Dobbs
Oh yeah, we didn't
proved
even
himself
mention him.
in
I'm
the
so glad you
postseason.
said that because I very much
No
agree
one
with
said
that.
Romeo. Like Romeo had an incredible postseason last year. Like I know it was only 2 games, so it's such a small sample to take of, but he did so good. I mean, but pairing Xavier McKinney with Jair Alexander too, like that is a nice looking cornerback duel right there. I think letting go of Aaron Jones, like if you're a Packers fan, that definitely hurts because personally for myself, I've been a loyal Aaron Jones guy. He's been my fantasy team like 3 of the last 4 seasons for me. But I think the pairing with Josh Jacobs is really, really, really good. I know that I don't think he's gonna get like the 400 carry season that he had 2 years ago, but I still think that Josh Jacobs, he's still really young. He's still very, very good. And pairing him up with Green Bay, who's pretty efficient when it comes to running the football,
Mhm.
I think it's a really good signing, even if it's comes in a way where there's a decent amount of money. So I think having Josh Jacobs and pairing him with AJ Dillon kind of just lowers my concern towards the receiving core. And I mean, they banked into the divisional round last year. They almost went to the NFC Championship game. So at this point, if I'm Matt LaFleur, if I'm Green Bay, I'm kind of just willing to invest in that young receiving core a bit because I like Musgrave. I think Christian Watson still has potential to be good. And I think Romeo Dobbs is just a sneakily good wide receiver one for that team. So I think Green Bay has got it going for them right now. And I think that drafting receiver would be really interesting. I really like Javin mentioning the T. Higgins trade. That's really got me all curious now. I think T. Higgins to Green Bay would be amazing.
Yeah, me too.
But
Honestly, that
otherwise,
came off the dome. I didn't even plan that.
yeah,
I was like, hey man.
I do like that as well, the pairing with them. Green Bay is one of the teams that has not had to give up many draft assets to build the team they have now. They've done it, by just drafting these players. I think they still have enough draft picks and enough room to be able to have to give up some draft capital in the next upcoming years in order to get that solidified wide receiver 1 guy. Even if it's not Higgins, I believe the wide receiver market next year is going to be it should be a lot better than this year, so I wouldn't be surprised if they're able to pick up a guy then. But
For the Packers situation, in my opinion, I don't think they really need that true number one that you guys are all kind of preaching about because of the fact Matt LaFleur's coaching and his scheming just opens people up. I don't know if you guys truly watched that team last year. They were such a smooth offense when they're in rhythm. The play action was lethal, and the whole Josh Jacobs thing. You got a younger running back who does basically the same thing as Aaron Jones with less injury concern. So I very much like that. As for the draft, again, the offseason split into 2 different things. It's free agency and the draft.
Yeah.
It's a kind of deep class for wide receivers, so you can get away with just getting someone throughout the draft and then just do the same thing you did last season, just better.
That's a fair point. I think And even their old line, they lose Bakhtiari, which isn't that big. I feel like he was hardly on the field, so it's like it is what it
Yeah,
is. And it's such a deep class again for the tackles, especially. So I think that they can probably draft a tackle and for Mr. Jordan Love, of course. And yeah, but do y'all think that we have too high expectations for the Packers? Because they're such a young team. And yes, they made it to the divisional and they looked really good. But again, Love is still young and developing. He's probably gonna have some growing pains. We talked about this receiving core. I got question marks about their defense. Sure, they got Xavier McKinney. They lost their veteran linebacker Campbell. I mean, I have a lot of questions about the Packers, especially with the Lions in that division too. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, well, first of all, I do want to mention defense. They do still have Kenny Clark and Rashawn Gary, and they
Yeah.
have quality, like average starters at a lot of positions, but they don't. Aside from, I do think Gary and Clark are good players, but
Mhm.
aside from those two and McKinney and Alexander, everyone else
Oh
is
yeah.
kind of just mediocre. But I do think, especially with the moves the Lions have made this offseason, I getting DJ Reader is an underrated pickup. He's a really good interior defender. Ali McNeil is an underrated, like that duo will be great on the interior.
They might be
They
a
definitely have made
historically
moves.
great run
Yeah,
defenses. Like it's
they made, yeah, and I mean defense was their weak point last year, and they made moves to improve it. I do think it's still the Lions' division to lose. Um, I think the Packers will probably have a similar season to last year. I could see anywhere from 8 to 10 wins, maybe 11 if Love has another great season. If they hit on draft picks, I think the Bears could also be competitive for a wild card spot in that division. Obviously, it would depend. I'm working under the assumption that Caleb Williams is going to be their guy. And so it would depend a lot on how he performs. But they've built a nice offense around him, and their defense isn't bad. It's pretty solid. Um, and I also think I don't think the Vikings are terrible. I think they did a good job retooling their defense this year. They have some underrated pickups. The big question mark for them, obviously, is at cornerback.
yeah.
I'm guessing they'll draft someone, but I think Darnold will end up starting the season as the starter. Um, so unless he has a Baker Mayfield resurgence, I do think the Vikings are the weakest team in that division at this point. But I did like a lot of their moves on defense this offseason. So I think overall, I mean, that division is going to be tight. It's going to be tough. But I do think the Lions are still very much the top team, the team to beat in that division.
Vikings got Aaron Jones too, which I'm also a big fan of that
Yeah.
because Alexander Madison was just
Yeah,
really, really awful last season. But I think people overlook Green Bay's success from the playoffs, and they had a good second half of the last regular season. But again, like it was all a time and process. Like it took time, but I think that Green Bay is again, like you guys said, they're being a little overlooked right now, especially how Nick mentioned the Chicago offseason signings. Like I don't care if Justin Fields or Caleb Williams is going to be a quarterback. Like they have a really, really good offensive like built around their entire team. Like minus the offensive line, they have like Keenan Allen to Chicago's great, pairing him up with DJ Moore. I think DeAndre Swift's kind of going to fall flat with Chicago. I just think that the Eagles made him look
I don't.
decent. But yeah, I think that Green Bay has a lot of competition, and I don't think they're going to go as far as they did this season.
I
Yeah.
agree. I love the mentioning of the Bears of a as a under the radar team. Um, Believe it or not, I'm actually more excited to see their defense rather than their offense, which I know might come as a shocker, but I really loved the draft that they had last year, especially with was it a mid-round pickup of Tyreek Stevenson, the cornerback? Absolute dog, a solidified cornerback too in just his rookie year. You still have Jalen Johnson, who was a top three cornerback, if not top two cornerback last year. If you look at, advanced statistics. And I mean, I really liked the who was the Montez Sweat pickup for the
Oh
second
yeah.
round. I was a little questionable when it first happened. Like, dang, you gave up a big bag, really good draft pick in the second round for him. And the second he came in, I mean, that's what they needed on the defensive line. That's what they were missing. They already were solidified with cornerbacks. They already had their linebackers, Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards. I think they do still need some defensive line work and some help there in the backfield and the safety spot, but that
Safeties look
defense,
nice.
yeah.
Brisker
Oh,
and
yeah.
Kevin. Yeah.
Yeah, they got fired.
Yeah.
Yo,
Byard.
yeah.
Kevin
Oh,
Byard.
yeah. Completely
And
forgot about
Brisker is a very solid young safety.
Yeah.
They have Gordon at nickelback too, which is he's very
Yeah,
he's,
I was
Oh,
gonna mention.
yeah. Kyler Gordon definitely slept on.
that defense is looking very nice.
I think
Yeah.
the Bears are going to go as far as Eberflus takes them. I think
Yes.
that's really what it comes down to. We're really going to see what Eberflus is all about, and I think it's going to be really interesting. Caleb Williams is going into a great situation. Okay, I think I want to move on to. We're going to skip the receiver market. I think we already kind of touched on Ridley. Everybody else was kind of just tagged. Tight ends, nobody really interesting. But I think what's been really a big story here in free agency, the offensive guards have been getting paid big bags, and I think it goes hand in hand with defensive tackles. The interior D line, those guys are getting paid big as well. Chris Jones kind of started that whole trend. We talked about Matabuke a little bit, and then Christian Wilkins. So, I mean, these interior guys, they're battling the trenches. Teams are kind of starting to notice how important that is. I think one of the biggest guys, Robert Hunt, 5 years, $100 million, big for Carolina. But then they also went out and then they signed Damian Lewis, 4 years, 53 million. Big, but they're trying to protect Bryce Young. And I think it's really interesting to see how teams are trying to build their rosters from the trenches.
From what
this free agency, I think they're definitely the biggest winner, if not one of the biggest. They did everything that they had to do in order to protect their young back, their franchise guy. The Deontay Johnson trade absolutely robbed the Steelers.
Beauty.
They can easily sign him on a flexible contract the next offseason that he will be a free agent in. He can be 1,000-yard guy. We saw that 2 years ago. That was really the last year where he was fully healthy. He had 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns. And then Damian Lewis pickup, I think that was a little slept on. I think a lot of people brought up the fact, oh, he's a questionable guard. Well, I searched him up, 987 snaps, only 3 penalties, 2 sacks allowed. I heard, he's really bad in the run game, but in terms of protection, he's not drawing a lot of flags and he's not allowing a lot of pressures or sacks. Definitely underrated pickup there. Down in the trenches, as you brought up, Javin, like they're completely solidified now. They could use center help. They have the young tackle. I forgot his name. He was
Ikwanu.
Yeah, the Cornu.
I think he's gonna have a better year next year, alongside those guys. I think they're gonna elevate him to the guy who was supposed to be, considering how high he was drafted a couple years back.
I'm gonna come in and talk about what Javen was talking about with the guards and D tackle situation. I remember hearing online from, I can't remember if it was on Speak or whatever, but they were talking about Aaron Donald's impact, about like how dominant he was up the middle, and in doing so, he kind of had that Lawrence Taylor effect. But instead of it being on the ends of your O line, like the tackles, it's on the inside. And then with the emergence of all these new defensive tackles like Sexy Dexy, Chris Jones, Christian Wilkins, like a lot of these players are plugging the middle, and it doesn't help that a lot of the quarterbacks coming out aren't all 6'4", 6'5" anymore. We have a lot of different heights variation. Bryce Young right now, he's kind of on the shorter end. Brock Purdy's on the shorter end. So you need someone to solidify that middle, because if that middle is not solidified, these big 6'5", 6'7" monsters mounting them in are just going to put their hands up, swat the ball, and make your life a living hell. So I very much do like that the offensive line is finally getting the love that they deserve and the money that they rightfully deserve. Because again, my whole philosophy with football, you win in the trenches. So it's good to see the other side of the trench finally catching up and getting their bag.
Yeah. Even for not just small quarterbacks, just quarterbacks in general, I mean, getting pressure right up in the middle, right in their face, they're going to feel that a lot faster than they would someone coming off the edge.
It's the trenches. I mean, if the middle collapses, you're just done. The edges might take more time to get there, but the second that the core gets collapsed, the edges are going to get there faster. It's definitely important. And that's why I really like the signings the Panthers had. It wasn't short term, 4-year deal, 5-year deal. They're locking those guys in. And, as you said, there's going to be a lot of upcoming guards this draft, and it's going to be definitely interesting to see where some of these guys go. especially considering that a lot of tackles have been switching to the guard spot or guards going to tackle. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of versatile guys coming in this draft who can switch both positions. And I don't know. I'm just very excited. I think this is one of the better drafts we've had as of recent, and it's definitely gonna make or break some teams if they're not able to have a good draft.
Yeah. Even another team going for their guards, the Rams, they threw a bag at Kevin Dotson, who really shined on the O line. And then they went ahead, they got the Lions, Jonah Jackson, again, beefing up that interior. All right, so we're gonna take a break talking about NFL free agency real quick, and we're gonna hop into a fun little game I've got planned. So, for those who know, and for those who don't know, this is NFL Connections, inspired by the New York Times game. You know, they've got Wordle. They've got a game called Connections, where there's 16 different things.
I'm gonna move them now.
You've got to pair four of these things. There's a commonality between four of these things. Yellow is easy. Purple is harder. So four of these guys go together. There's a certain trait or something that they'll fall under. And yeah, so we're gonna go 1v1v1 free for all style. And I try to make this not as hard as last time, but still a little difficult. So you have to pretty much what goes. So let's say, for example, if we're gonna start with Joe, which we probably will since he's our reigning champ. We'll start with Joe. He'll have to pair four players together and then say what they would be paired together with. What's their commonality, if that makes sense.
Can I give that a shot? Because I think I see
Yeah. Okay, we can
see the
jump right
trend.
in. Joe's feeling it. Go on ahead.
I think, but I don't know if this is the guy I'm thinking in the bottom right corner. But I want to go Khalil Mack, Danielle Hunter, Trey Hendricks, or is it Trey Hendricks? I know he plays for the Bengals. He's the guy
Oh,
in the
that's Sam
bottom left
Hubbard.
corner.
Sam Hubbard.
Oh, okay, that ruined the whole thing.
That's not
I was
true.
gonna go.
He's an edge
Yeah.
rusher.
Okay, cool. That is that Montez Sweat in the bottom right.
Yeah.
Okay, then I want to go for all four of them being edge rushers. Then
Alrighty, sorry. So okay, so what was it again?
what? I said
Sorry.
Khalil Mack,
Khalil Mack.
Danielle Hunter, the guy all the way to the bottom left, Hubbard, and then Montez Sweat all the way to the bottom right. Should all be edge rushers.
Okay, so the only hint I can give y'all is if you're one away, Joe, that is gonna be one away. Also, this is Trey Hendrickson.
Oh, so it was Trey Hendrickson. Okay, so I wasn't
Yeah.
sure.
This is Trey
Oh,
Hendrickson. So that is gonna be one away, Joe.
I see it.
So
Cool.
now, I guess we'll go Leveron next, just because he was second reigning champion.
Le'Veon Bell, Mark Ingram, Josh Jacobs, Cordero Patterson. Is he considered a running back since he has been the last 2 years?
Is that what you think the category is?
That's what I'm gonna say the category is. Screw it. Let's go. Let's see
No,
what happens.
not even one away. Not even one away.
Damn.
Golly.
All right, then y'all can decide who wants to go next.
Let's just go down the road then. Let's go Lucas next.
So right now.
All right, I have a crazy thought, but I'm not gonna lie, it's one of the first things that popped up in my head. I'm probably gonna be completely wrong here, but Sam Bradford, Rob Gronkowski, Carson Palmer, and Trey Hendrickson are all white. There's only four white guys on the board, right?
That is crazy. That is
is-
gonna be incorrect. No.
Damn it. Okay.
Well, that's a fun one. That's a fun
Is
one.
Bradford
Hard.
white? I don't know.
All right. Is that who is next to Gronk? Is that Clowney?
That is Danico Autry.
Okay, yeah. I'll go Autry, Hunter, Sweat, and Hendrickson.
Right.
All edge rushers. I believe Autry's.
That's gonna be one away as well.
Is that back on me?
I think it's Daniel.
Lost right now, but I'm gonna Trey Hendrickson, Mark Ingram, both play for the Saints. That's pretty much it. Cordell Patterson, Gabe Davis, both wide receivers. Who's that guy next to Trey Hendrickson? Is that James Bradbury?
That is Shane Vereen.
Shane Vereen. I'll take the L on this one, guys. Sorry.
Is he gonna pass?
Yeah.
Alrighty. All right, so yeah, back to Joe.
Okay, so I was one. He was one. The missing peak was Khalil Mack, Montez Sweat, Danielle Hunter, and then Buddy next to Gronk are the edge rushers.
That's gonna be one away as well.
God damn it.
Back to I think Leveron. If he's
He's using the restroom right now.
okay. Alrighty. We'll come back to him then. We'll go to
We'll come back
Lucas.
to him.
All right. I'm pretty confident on this one. Shane Vereen, Josh Jacobs, Le'Veon Bell, and wait, hold up. And Mark Ingram, they're all running backs.
That's gonna be incorrect.
Damn it.
Think a little outside the box, not just positions, but maybe.
I'm on the fucking toilet.
Okay,
I
we'll
have
go.
no idea how
I
Gabe
have
Davis
one.
will connect.
Alrighty, Nick. Do you want to go Nick next, or Nick? Do you want to give it to Leveron? Because we.
LeBron can go first since he's before me in order.
Alrighty.
All right. Oh man, this is just. Wait, who's the Titans player? Is that?
That's the Nico Autry.
Oh damn. Wait. Gronk, Cordero, Gabe Davis, and oh man, I'm not gonna lie. I'll skip my turn. I don't want to hear you got none of them right because I'm not gonna lie. I have no idea what connections they have. So
I have two of them,
we'll,
I think.
we'll move on.
Alrighty.
We'll move on.
Alrighty. Right back to Nick.
I'm gonna go Carson Palmer, Sam Bradford, Khalil Mack, and none of the other dudes would fit in my Le'Veon Bell, and I was gonna say top 5 draft picks, but I don't think Le'Veon Bell is top 5.
Yeah, that's gonna be incorrect as well. All right, who's next? It's gonna be Daniel. If you have a guess, or you just want to skip your turn again.
Still figuring things out right now. Gotta
Okay.
skip.
All right, back to Joe. Joe, he's saying he's got
Okay,
one.
okay. Boys. Khalil Mack, Josh Jacobs. Is that Woodson?
This
And
is
Christian Wilkins all played or play for the Oakland Raiders or the Raiders.
My dad just came on.
it's gonna be incorrect, unfortunately. Yeah, these guys
Ain't
probably
no
got
way. Ain't
they
no way.
got multiple links,
I mean,
but
No.
I think there's some specifics that tie them together. Try to think of some stats, guys. Try to think of some stats. Let me give y'all some hints here. I think who's it? It's gonna be Lev.
Oh, let's go with Gabe Davis, Le'Veon Bell, Mark Ingram, and Josh Jacobs have all had 10 plus touchdowns in a season.
Fortunately, that's gonna be incorrect as well. Not even one away. Y'all make me feel like I made this too difficult again. No, I think once I get one, that'll get the ball rolling. We're going right back to Lucas.
Okay. I kind of just did a little research here. So, um, I'm pretty sure that Carson Palmer, Mark Ingram, Charles Woodson, and Sam Bradford all have Heisman trophies.
That's correct. That's gonna be the blue as well. There it is,
Oh,
Lucas on the
Let's go.
board.
who gave that boy the cheat sheet?
There it is. Alrighty, so you got the blue. That's alrighty. So now,
Jeez, all those covered in just one. Oh my
yeah.
God.
All right, so now back to Nick.
Josh Jacobs. Wait, no, I don't want to do Josh.
You thinking you got an idea?
I was thinking like they've led in yards at their position, but the only 3 that have done that. I'll go. Yeah, I don't really have a guess. I can't think of anything.
All right, well, you want to skip to Daniel?
alrighty. The Nico Autry, Daniil Hunter, Montez Sweat, and Khalil Mack, and/or Trey Hendrickson have all had 10 sacks or more in one season.
I need an official guess with 4.
Ah, Khalil Mack, Danico Autry, Daniil Hunter, Trey Hendrickson.
That's gonna be 1 away.
Oh, you just gave it to someone, I
Back
think.
to Joe.
Oh man, I wasn't even paying attention.
No.
Wait, repeat what you just said.
Oh, no,
Nah,
Okay, so I heard Khalil Mack, Danielle Hunter, Christian Wilkins, and Montez Sweat all had 10 sacks in a season.
Wilkins, Montez Sweat. That's gonna be incorrect. Not 1
Man, I
away.
hate you, Daniel.
Down to Lucas.
Okay, I'm gonna try to stick with this 10 sack thing.
Oh my.
I think I'm gonna guess Trey Hendrickson, Daniil Hunter, Christian Wilkins, and Montez Sweat. If that hasn't been guessed already, all had 10 sacks.
What was it again? Trey Hendrickson.
Daniil Hunter, Christian Wilkins, and Montez Sweat.
That's gonna be incorrect as well.
If I'm not mistaken, was that just the same thing that Joe repeated?
I
I
thought
was
Joe had
worried I
Mac.
repeated.
No, I didn't say Trey Hendrickson.
Wait, Nick, your head's been down a while.
Is it
man.
my
You
turn?
searching something up?
No, I was just checking Christian Wilkins because I didn't think he had a 10 sacks. But
Alrighty, so back to now we're at Nick. Let's see. There's
I
breadcrumbs
feel like
being
10 sack
sprinkled.
is definitely one of them, but I don't. Who do we not? I'll go.
No, you're.
See, I feel like Joe said this the very first time, but Mac Hunter, he did. Mac Hunter, Hendrickson. I'll go Autry, Steph Sweat.
That's gonna be 1 away.
All right, let me get straight to
Daniel.
this thing, baby.
It's me.
No, it's me. I'm first, fool. Don't play with me. Come on, man. Let me get this one. Let me
It
get
is.
this.
It is actually going to be Daniel.
Oh my goodness.
Danico
Yeah, you
Autry,
after me, son.
Khalil Mack, Montez Sweat, and Daniil Hunter have all had 10 sacks or more in one season.
That's gonna be 1 away.
Wait, what did you say again? Oh, I forgot. Oh, I can't. Yeah, I can't get that from him now because
This one's just gonna be
Joe.
random, but it's
Oh,
the
yeah.
only thing because I'm looking at it. I'm like, what the fuck is Gabe Davis doing here? But Gabe Davis, Le'Veon Bell, Rob Gronkowski, and that Giants fool all played in the AFC East.
Gonna be incorrect.
I hate this game.
Now back to Levron. Let's see. Can he pick up the breadcrumbs?
Okay, let's go. Trey Hendrickson. Wait, Trey Hendrickson, Daniil Hunter, Montez Sweat, and Khalil Mack have all had 10 sacks in a season.
It's gonna be 1 away as well.
Ah,
Wow.
ah.
Alrighty. Now to Lucas. This is getting
Okay,
close.
I'm gonna fade away from the 10 sacks because I'm just completely lost. There's been like 7 different answers, so I don't want to even repeat myself.
That's fair.
I think I'm gonna pass on my turn right now, but I'm leading somewhere. What's the Titans dude's name again?
This is the Nico Autry.
Okay.
To Nick
I'll
now. Let's see.
go.
I'll go 10 sacks again,
Okay.
and I'm gonna go Hendrickson, Autry, Mac, and Sweat.
Hendrickson, Autry, Mack, and Sweat. That's gonna be correct. Each had 10 sacks this season. Trey Hendrickson was second in the league, which I was shocked to find out, but good for him. I just threw in Nico Autry in there because I thought he was fun. And yeah, great job. There it is. 10 sacks. It was coming sometime. It was coming sometime. And now it circles back to Daniel, who kind of started this whole he started this whole 10 sack train.
I believe
Y'all got the easiest and the hardest category left, so I think we can get this going here.
there's 1, 2, 3, 4 defensive players and 4 offensive players. So it's offense and defense. Okay. I believe. No, there's 5 offense, 3 defense. Josh Jacobs, Le'Veon Bell, Cordell Patterson, and Gabe Davis have had at least 400 yards and 400 rushing yards in one season.
That's going to be incorrect.
He laughed.
Man, with the specifics, yeah, what the hell?
Gabe Davis rushing.
I know.
yards?
Dave Davis is throwing me off, but the only thing wait, is it my turn?
Yep.
All right. Gabe Davis, Danielle Hunter, Christian Wilkins, and Josh Jacobs all got traded this year.
He'd be a little more specific.
Oh, they all got signed in the offseason. There
Yeah.
we go.
I think it's fair to. I think it's fair to give. It was so, you know. Alrighty, so yeah, there it is. And now just one category is remaining. I think whoever can figure it out. So I think if Lucas, Joe, or Nick get it, then they win. Unless if Daniel and Lev, you just want to put it between them 3, or do you guys want to try to steal the last category and make it a tie?
It depends on you, Daniel. What do you think?
I think I'm gonna go for it once I hear their ideas.
Okay.
Alrighty. They're gonna all right. So now it's gonna be Lev's turn.
Okay, so who's that Giants player again?
James Bradbury.
This is Shane Vereen.
Oof.
What position did he play?
Oh my goodness.
What was his name? Shane?
Shane Vereen. Please no Googling.
They all played in the NFC?
It's gonna be incorrect. I don't know if you guys can get this one. I made it, this is supposed to be the hardest category, so I made it really hard, but it's really specific. If somebody can get it, I'll be really impressed, especially if it's somebody who for the game. So we'll see what happens. I believe it's going to be Lucas' turn.
Okay. I know for a fact that Grunk, Shane Vereen, and Cordell Patterson played for the Patriots, and Le'Veon Bell played for the Steelers. And I know that they played against each other in the AFC Championship game. Was it 18? It wasn't 17 because that's when they played Jacksonville. So it's kind of a outlandish one, but it is the hardest category. So I'm gonna say that Gronk, Shane Vereen, Cordell Patterson, Le'Veon Bell were all part of the 2018 AFC Championship game.
That's a really good one. That would have been really smart if I thought about that, but that's going to be incorrect. Now to Nick for the game.
This is really simple, so it's definitely not this. And I don't even know if Vereen hit this, but the only thing I think is that they all had a 1,000-yard scrimmage season.
Yeah, it's not going to be it. Sorry,
Yes.
brother. All right, now it's going to be Daniel. He can steal. Make it a
Rob,
tie for everyone.
Gronk, Bell, Patterson, and Vereen all played in the 2017 season.
That's nope. That's going to be incorrect. Now to Joe. Can he take the game?
I'll end it with this. None of them are in the league anymore.
That's going to be incorrect, but that would have been a fun one.
You said correct wrong, Javen.
Sorry.
You've been
sorry,
doing that a
Joe.
lot
Can't
this
do it.
game, man.
Can't do it.
Well, on this day, March 16th, unfortunately, candidate LeBron has decided to drop out of the race.
Oh.
So
Wow. You know what? Let's give him a round of applause for that. Very noble, very honorable.
I'll decide to, leave it up to the guys who have a chance of winning. So thank you
Alrighty.
guys for the opportunity. We'll
Great
come
job,
back
LeBron. Hey,
after. We'll come back
0-2. 0-2. Let's not forget.
0-2, but
Let's not
we'll
forget.
get there one day.
You had a whole game. You had a whole game ahead of Lucas and Nick and even Daniel, but it's okay. It's you go down with pride. All right, so it's gonna go to Lucas.
It's tough because this is a purple one, so you really got to think outside the box here. But I think I'm gonna pass this for now. I'm gonna be back. I'm gonna join the Zoom call real quick.
Okay, all
But
good,
I'll
all
be
good.
back.
We'll see you soon. So now Nick, hey, he might come in and it might be over. We might not even be in the call no more. That'd be kind of funny.
I know this applies to Gronk and Bell. It probably does not to Harrison Green, but they all missed a full season in the middle of their careers.
That also would have been a good one if I had thought about it. But yeah, it's gonna be incorrect. Now it's to Daniel, unless if he wants to drop out nobly.
I believe that I will be dropping out
Wow, there it
as
is.
well. Yeah,
All right.
it's a tough one.
Thank you. Wow. There we go. And just like that, we're gonna have a winner today. Joe thinks it could be him. We could have a newbie winner. Let's go. It's back to Joe.
Yes, the winner I am. Of course. Yes. Let's see how I'm gonna win this though. I'm gonna pass for now. Let me cook in my noggin for a bit.
Alrighty. Back to Nick then. While we wait for Lucas.
I'm trying to think of the draft. I don't think they were all the same year. I'll just go. They were all drafted in 2011. That's the only thing I have to think of.
Yeah, that's gonna be incorrect, unfortunately.
I think Gronk was 2012.
Alrighty, now to Joe. I think once Lucas joins again, we'll give him one more guess, and then we'll just go off a strike system. We'll just go. You guys got 3 strikes, 3 more guesses. That's once Lucas joins again. So Joe, let's see if he can ice it.
Ice in my vein. I don't know about Shane Vereen, but I know for sure the other three have. But they all had at least 10 years in their career.
That's gonna be incorrect.
God damn it, Shane Vereen.
Yeah, man, Shane Vereen. What a guy he was, though. But I think once you guys know it, though, I think you'll be like, oh yeah, it's definitely a purple category, though.
I think of stats, but Gronk throws it off because the rest of them are all like running back, or I guess Patterson's wide receiver.
That okay? So Lucas is, I think, with us. Yeah. Okay. He's
Yeah,
just in
I'm
the
here.
car.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Okay. So okay. Now that Lucas is here, I think so. Now's a good time. We're gonna start the strike system. Just to get it out the way, just so you guys aren't guessing here forever. So I'll give y'all I think 3 strikes each. So we're still going the same order. And yeah, if y'all can't get it by then no winner.
It's really tough. It's so difficult, man. I generally do not know. I'm gonna make a random guess here that all these guys had like 8 or more total scrimmage touchdowns in one of their own seasons.
They're all offensive players. I know. Big brain. Big brain right there.
They all led the league or led their position in fumbles in a season.
That would have been a really good one. Okay, so I've got another big. This is a really big hint for y'all. Think about like the teams that they've been on and like who they've played with, coaches, players. Think that aspect while also thinking of stats.
The coaching thing is a little interesting now. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of got me thinking a little bit. I don't know. Like, I'm not sure when Cordell Patterson was a Raider, but I know for a fact that he was. It only matters though, like if Josh McDaniel was there during his tenure with the Raiders. So that's gonna be my guess is that these guys all had like I don't know 600 plus scrimmage yards with Josh McDaniels as their coordinator or head coach.
That is gonna be incorrect.
They've all played for the most winning coaches, I guess. They've never had a losing season.
That's gonna be incorrect.
They've all had 1,000-yard scrimmage seasons for coaches that won Coach of the Year.
Yeah, that's gonna be incorrect. All right, you guys each have 1 strike left. Let's see if somebody can bring it home.
I'm just gonna take a wild guess here, and they all led their designated team in scrimmage yards while their offensive coordinator was at their first season with their designated team.
That's gonna be incorrect.
They've all played with an MVP quarterback.
That's going to be incorrect, but
I hate
that has
this
been the
game.
closest guess that we've heard today.
I'm gonna go with they all played for all pro wide receivers. Or with all pro wide receivers.
That's going to be incorrect. No winner
Can,
this game.
can I say the other thing I thought it may
I
have
think,
been like
yeah.
since it
Let's
wasn't
see.
the
Joe
MVP?
sounded like there was a spark there. What do you think it was, Joe?
Was it they have all played with the Super Bowl winning quarterback?
No, they have
Oh, okay, never
all
mind.
caught a touchdown pass from Tom Brady.
Le'Veon Bell?
I know. I was shocked too, but
Yeah,
he caught
because
it.
Le'Veon was
Tampa
on
Bay.
Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he caught
Oh,
he caught
I
one in
forgot
Tampa
that
about
Bay.
made
that.
me just
Shane
realize
Vereen.
that.
I completely forgot he was on the
Oh.
Bugs.
Yeah, no, that I'd make it a little tricky for y'all. But yeah, that's gonna be it. No winner. But alrighty, so it is a new day. We had to split this recording up into 2 different days because we had so many thoughts. But here I am with Lebron, and we're gonna go over kind of the last couple signings that we weren't able to go over yesterday. So that is going to be mostly on the defensive side of the ball. We're going to start off interior D line. We talked about the importance of the interior O line before the game yesterday. A lot of guys are paying a lot of big bucks to the big boys in the middle of the defense. We talked about Chris Jones last episode. Matabuke, we kind of covered. Christian Wilkins to the Raiders. 4 years, $110 million. I really like this. I think Wilkins and Crosby on that D line, that's going to be nasty.
I agree. I think the combination of those both guys will complement each other very well. However, I am gonna say a little hot take here. I do think he was massively overpaid.
Ooh,
It's a big hot take.
yeah.
I understand the impact that he has on a team, but we also have to consider that before this season, he had 3 straight seasons where he didn't even crack 4 sacks. And he was always a very great run defender, which is why the sack numbers didn't matter.
Mhm.
I just felt like last year was the first year where he was a top 5 run defender and could consistently get to the quarterback. However, I think I'm gonna eat my words on that one because I don't think it's gonna age well. I think I really do like him landing in Las Vegas. I think it's the perfect spot for him. So I like the signing. I just think maybe they could have got him for like 25 mil a year, maybe not
Yeah.
28, but
I mean,
I
I'm
understand
sure.
the
I'm
market.
sure that was a big market. I'm sure a lot of people would have loved him. So I think if the Raiders they had the cap space to kind of overpay him a little bit, but I do think. I mean, would you agree he's a top 5, maybe top 3 interior D
Definitely.
lineman in the league? Of course, Chris Jones #1. Now Aaron Donald retired, so I think that
Right.
yeah, I think that is going to be great. I think Antonio Pierce is really going to bring the best out of his players, especially on the defensive side of the ball. He's going to be he's always been fun to watch, and so especially with Crosby, yeah, it's going to be tough to stop them all. Leonard Williams re-signs with the Seahawks. I think that was big. We kind of expected that to happen, though. I believe
Yeah.
we talked about that. DJ Reader to the Lions. I think that Lions defense is going to be tough to. Their D line was a little bit questionable last season, and now you've just got a big boy clogging up that middle, man.
Right in the middle. That was definitely a big discussion that was going into this year for the Lions. Obviously, everything was surrounding their defense, right? And their defensive line actually, I think, was like top 5 in run stopping last year, but generated like 0 sacks, like 0 pressures. Could not get to the quarterback at all.
Well, it was only really Hutchinson. Like that was it.
Exactly. Yeah. So I like Reader because obviously he's gonna continue to put more pressure down the middle. Should help out Hutchinson.
Mhm.
And I mean, he's just one of the best, run stopping, DTs in the whole league. So I think this is nothing but just more positives for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'm kind of surprised to see that the Bengals didn't try to re-sign him because of how important that run stopping is. But yeah, him with the Lions, it just makes a lot of sense. And he has some injury concerns being that big, but especially come playoff time, you've got the Packers, you've got the Niners, very run heavy team in the NFCs, and he's definitely going to help if he can make it to that playoff time. You can serve him enough. He's not a 3 down guy.
Right.
Um, And now I guess that's kind of a good transition going to the edge rushers. Most of the big guys got franchise tagged. Josh Allen, Brian Burns, who was tagged and then traded. Let's touch on that for a little bit. There was a lot of trades that went on. I know one big one that went on today as we're recording this Saturday, which maybe we'll get to at the end if you want to talk about your fields in Pittsburgh. But Brian Burns traded to the Giants. I don't know. I still think the Giants have a long way to go before contending.
You know what? This is what I'm going to start off with. If you look at that Giants defense, you've got who's the guy in the middle? Ludacon? No, it's the oh man, oh my goodness, I completely forgot about him. I'm not on my monitor today, so I can't really bring up
Yeah.
players as we speak. But I mean, Kayvon Thibodeau,
Yeah. Thibodeau, Sexy Dexy, of course.
Lexi Dixie, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Bobby Okereke, Deontay Banks. Yo,
Yeah.
I only was hoping that they could bring back If they had brought back Xavier McKinney, I feel like that defense would considerably be top 7, top 8.
Mhm.
I mean, they just have so much talent on defense, especially on that line. The only problem that I see a lot of people bringing up about the trade is obviously the humongous contract
Yeah, he's
that
second
they gave
highest paid,
Brian
and
Burns.
I don't know about that one for Brian Burns, respectfully. I mean, he's a great talent, but I mean, is he as good as, a Miles Garrett, a TJ Watt? He's not on those, he's not on that level.
The only way that I will consider letting that slide, I feel like when this first happened, I kind of compared it to the Jaylen Brown situation in basketball,
Hmm.
where if the Celtics didn't give him the max, which he was not worth, if I mean not the Panthers, but if the Giants didn't give him the 30 mil a year, to Brian Burns, there was going to be other teams that would be willing to overpay him to sign him that much,
Yeah.
which is the only reason why I see it being okay. But at the end of the day, I just think they paid a very heavy price, especially with Daniel Jones's contract. You're gonna have to
Yeah.
extend Kayvon Thibodeau. You're gonna have to give Okereke a new contract soon. You Man, this is just gonna be really bad. I feel that in the next 2 to 3 years, the Giants are really gonna be stuck with a lot of their money and their defense, and it's gonna be a mess.
Yeah, and I mean that's a fair point. Their defense, I'm not too concerned about. It's their offense. I don't think they were in a position to go and get a luxury, edge rusher in Brian Burns. Sure, it's fun. Sure, it excites the fans. But who do they have at receiver? I mean, they lost Saquon Barkley. They're paying Daniel Jones a humongous contract, and he didn't even play this year. I just feel like there's so many holes that the Giants didn't really need to do this. And it's no disrespect. Brian Burns, he's great. Their defense, they're going to be fine. It's the offense that I'm concerned about, where I don't think the Giants were in a position to do this move. Um, I kind of brushed over Josh Allen getting franchise tagged. I feel like the Jaguars should just give him a contract because I feel like that price tag for edge rushers is just going up and up and up. Um, and I think he's a good pass rusher. And so I don't really know what Jacksonville's doing there with Allen, but I definitely believe he deserves a contract extension. Absolutely.
I agree 1,000%. I think you've got to just lock him in at this
Yeah.
point. You've
Mhm.
got a good young solid core, on offense. You got pieces and on defense. Just lock him in. You don't want to upset the guy, make possible feud. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
so just lock him in. Yeah, there's no point of just tagging him at this point.
We talked about Bryce Huff to Philly, how great that was. A little bit of a defensive end swap. Daniil Hunter going to the Houston Texans is nasty, and then Jonathan Grenard to the Minnesota Vikings, not as nasty, but still fun. Uh, Hunter to the Texans, man, that Texans team. I mean, they know what they're doing. They've got a really good pass rusher in Will Anderson on a rookie deal. You've got a quarterback on a rookie deal. Really young and cheap receivers. You're gonna go and pay a high price tag for a premium pass rusher. Daniil Hunter, he's coming off of I know he had double digit sacks. I mean, he's going to tear it up on that Houston D, and Houston is going to be a scary team next year.
I love the exchanges that both teams did.
Yeah.
It was clear from the beginning that the Vikings weren't set on keeping Daniil and giving him the big contract that he had earned. Obviously, age was a factor. but there was no doubting his consistency. I think it's like what 3-4 years now in a row, if not one season due to injury, that he's had
Yeah.
double-digit sacks. He's just been so dominant. The Vikings aren't really clear on what their future holds at the moment. So for them to be able to sign Jonathan Grenard at a considerably less price than Hunter when he went to the Texans, I think they did a really good job. Grenard, I think what did he have 9.5 sacks, maybe more, and he was playing off and off at that position as well. I watched some tape on him when
He
they
had
made the
14 sacks. Grenard had 14
Wow.
sacks this season.
And he wasn't even playing DE full time either.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of like a Bryce Huff kind of thing, like Nick was talking about yesterday. Except for I'm pretty sure Grenard played a lot more snaps, but
Yeah.
still he wasn't full time. And as you said, Hunter to the Texans, super young. They had the cap space. They have the ability to go out and make those big splash moves. I really love it for the development of Will Anderson Jr. I think that's great. Danielle Hunter, I've heard nothing but great things about him around the league, according to teammates like Jay Jettis and such. I think he's going to help out Will Anderson a ton. I think the Vikings stay young and go the cheaper route with Grenard, who's still a great pass rusher.
Yeah.
I think both teams had A-plus signings there. Absolutely. If anything, I'm surprised the Texans didn't have to give Danielle Hunter a bigger contract.
Me too. That's what I was gonna touch on next. It's really not a bad contract for Hunter at all. I'm pulling up the numbers right now. It's 2 years, 49 million, and I think it's like 48 guaranteed. So it's basically fully guaranteed. But I mean, I feel like that's not a bad contract for a 29-year-old pass rusher coming off of a 18 sack season. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I expected him to kind of like to kind of get locked in with money and get like a 4-year contract, you
Yeah,
know.
me
So
too. I was kind of surprised to
yeah,
see him get 2 years too. But yeah, I mean, not great for both sides. A very interesting one. Josh Uchi signing with the resigns with the Patriots, 1 year, $3 million. A very startable, very very fine edge rusher. He only got 3 sacks last season. I think he got hurt though. But I know he's very starting caliber. He's really good for that defense. I was kind of shocked to see that to go back for 3 years. And I think it kind of shows where the Patriots are heading and how Mayo has got these guys bought in a way that I don't think it's being covered. So yeah, I just think that was a very underrated signing.
definitely. And I forgot which analyst brought it up. It might have been RG3, but reportedly Josh Uche had rejected a contract that was going to give him like $9 million more. I have no idea how credible that is
I mean, I believe that. Yeah.
because it sounds crazy. Like he really took a $9 million pay cut. But no, I agree with you. I think Gerard Mayo was definitely bringing in that new kind of environment, the atmosphere in New
Mhm.
England. I think it's kind of similar to Las Vegas with Antonio Pierce. I personally just think it's a former NFL coach thing. I think a lot more teams need to be hiring former NFL players. I mean,
Yeah.
they're able to connect and to understand the players a lot much more, much more deeper than
Mhm.
just regular coaches who've never played a down in their life. But no,
Yeah.
I love what they did there with Josh Oche. Great deal. Great deal there.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you bring up because it does kind of feel like that. Like especially if like defensive guys, um, they just know how to get their players fired up and really light a fire in them. And yeah, you brought up a good point with Pierce. Yeah, I think even Jeff Saturday when he was coaching for that couple games, I mean they were playing, they're playing for him. And yeah, I think that's an interesting point you bring up there. Any other edge rushers off the top of your head that you wanna talk about?
Honestly, no, I
No,
don't think
yeah.
so.
Everybody else is just
Maybe
really good depth, like just rotational guys. I guess Chase Young
right,
might be the best guy still out there, and even that's
yeah,
like, he's young. He's just that hit or miss guy.
right.
Yeah, Clowney's still out there. Clay's Campbell, a lot of either older guys or just kind of guys that are inconsistent. Um, so we'll move on to the linebackers. Patrick Queen to your Pittsburgh Steelers. How do you feel about that?
Well, I'm gonna have to copy and paste what I said in the chat the other day. I think it's a good signing, but I think people around the league have been calling it, oh, a huge steal for the Steelers. I like to try to be a little humble.
Mhm.
I don't want to jump on the train too fast now. His first season, great. Everyone was really hyping him up. He had a big chance to get, defensive rookie of the year. The next 2 years after that, he was pretty bummy. He was very average,
Yes. I'm
very
glad you
bummy.
brought it up. Yeah.
And then last year, now that he had Roquan Smith, all of a sudden he went back to his rookie season.
Yep.
I'm just saying I don't want to have the expectation of him coming in. Great linebacker off the top like he was in Baltimore last year. He may struggle. I think he's going to struggle. We don't really have any other linebacker to kind of combine him with like he did with Roquan in Baltimore. I think it's a B. If I had to grade it, I'd give it like a B. I don't know. I mean, I just
Yeah.
don't think we should get too excited over that now until we see how he performs.
Wow. What a humble, non-biased opinion there. Cause I agree with that because yeah, Queen was, I mean, I remember Ravens fans were really hating on this guy 2 years ago. And now he's with Pittsburgh. Of course, it leaves a sour taste in Baltimore fans. A lot of in-division signings and stuff. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but just so NFL is a business at the end of the day. Yeah, I think that again, I do believe that he's not going to replicate what he did this year. Queen and Smith, there were top three, maybe even top two linebacker duos in the entire league. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, maybe with the pass rush with Watt and High Highsmith or
Yeah,
Hightower,
yep.
Highsmith, yeah. With both of them getting at the quarterback, maybe it makes his job a little easier. But I just don't know after 1 year of him really being productive. I mean, I guess his rookie year as well. If he's a guy that you throw 3 years, 41 mil at.
Yeah.
And then we talked about the Commanders a little bit. They got Frankie Louvu from the Carolina Panthers. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know too much about him enough to where I can say if this is a good signing or not. I just know the Commanders have been throwing paychecks to everybody. So take that as you will. You got any comment on that one?
I'm gonna go across from Frankie Louvu for a second. Because as you said, I don't know much about him. All I've
Mhm.
heard is that he was just like a moderate, like a mid guy
Yeah,
at his
yeah,
position. He was serviceable. That was the point
yeah.
of
Starter level, I'm sure. Yeah.
right starter level. I'm gonna go across that. I'm gonna go with Bobby Wagner.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Yesterday, but I didn't get to talk about it yesterday. I was in the restroom, but I really liked the Wagner pickup to help Jamin Davis, their 19th overall pick a couple years back,
Oh yeah.
who was their linebacker. His first season was pretty disappointing. He got overdrafted heavily. And last year he had a pretty solid year, actually, pretty quiet season. I think putting in a guy like Bobby Wagner will just further help him this year.
Hmm.
Got to make the most out of your first round pick a couple years back. I really like both signings. I think Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner, you have very serviceable linebackers.
Yeah, and I think you might have been in the bathroom when we were talking about the Commanders a little bit. We're saying how they really need to go and reshape their image, and so I think that especially Bobby Wagner, great guy, very well respected around the league. He's gonna bring that. Let's see, we got Jordan Brooks to the Dolphins. I'm a big Jordan Brooks fan. I mean, it's tough to say as a Niner fan. He knew he was with the Seahawks, and I was with the Dolphins, so I can say that. I really like his. I think his drip is really sick too. I like his dark visor. That's a big part of it. Also, I feel like he's always flying around the ball, making plays. So I definitely like that pickup for the Dolphins. Um, we talked about the Houston Texans. They got Aziz Shire. I really like that pickup as well.
Oh,
3 years, $34 million.
I'm surprised with all the cap space the Titans had. They threw big bags at Calvin Ridley. He's already like 29.
Hmm.
I forgot the other guys that they threw a big bag to, but you don't sign Alshire, really? Like
Yeah, yeah,
way
that was
younger
shocking. That was shocking.
and great price tag for the Texans there. I saw them doing that the second that Blake Cashman had obviously moved on to another team because
Yeah,
he
he
had
went to the
like
Minnesota Vikings. Yeah,
he had just a great out of nowhere season. So I think it was a really good pickup for the Texans
absolutely.
because instead of getting a questionable guy like Cashman who had one great season, you're bringing in Alshire, who has always been a good
Yep,
linebacker.
yep. And he
Go
has that connection with D'Amico.
Oh,
This is
right.
this is going to be a nasty signing, man. I mean that Texans defense now. D'Amico's got a guy who he trusts. He's going to be a leader for that team. Locks him down for the next 3 years. I love this pickup. This might be one of my favorite pickups in the entire free agency. I mean, yeah, as a Niner fan too, love seeing Aziz get his bag. 3 years, 34 mil. He deserves it. The two Buccaneers linebackers, Buccaneers retain Levante David, 1 year contract. Seems like he probably retires either after this year. He definitely has no more than 3 years left in him. And then Devin White to Philadelphia, which we kind of covered a little bit. I don't think it's that big of a signing. He's not really the guy that Philly needed. He's a coverage guy, sure, but I feel like they needed some tackler, which as much as I've heard, he's not a great tackler. Um, yeah, I think that's really about it though for the linebackers. Still a couple guys out there though. Shaq Leonard,
Bro,
kind of
oh,
washed, but it is what it is. If somebody wants to take that risk, Isaiah Simmons, he might still have something to bring for a team. But yeah, other than
Jerome
that, the
Baker
line.
just got picked up by the Seahawks.
Oh yeah, that is true. I'd like that pickup. I really thought Patrick Queen was on his way to Seattle. Actually, going back to him, which I think that Baker might honestly have a productive season if McDonald kind of uses him as he used Queen. Um,
Right.
So it'll kind of be interesting. I know linebackers are kind of a big part of that, but Seahawks, they lost Wagner and Brooks, so it's gonna be interesting. They might have to end up drafting a guy if McDonald, yeah, really
Yeah,
likes him.
I hated that trade off for the Seahawks because I personally am a pretty decent, I'm not a pretty decent, a pretty good fan of Jerome Baker.
Mhm,
However, you lose Jordan Brooks to the Dolphins, and then the Dolphins lose Jerome Baker to you.
mhm.
It was a terrible trade off. You obviously lost a far more superior linebacker in Jordan Brooks. I was
Yeah,
really
I think
shocked.
he's younger too, so
Yeah.
yeah. I'm kind of surprised to see the Eagles didn't go after Baker with that familiarity with Fangio, just playing in
Right.
that
Mhm.
system. So that's kind of shocking. I feel like he's probably a better tackler too than Devin White at the very least. But yeah, that's gonna pretty much cap it off with the linebackers. I think nobody else really worth talking about, respectfully. Cornerbacks, nothing again. The corner market was a little bit dry this season. Most guys were re-signed or tagged. Jalen Johnson, he gets 4 years, 76 million for the Chicago Bears. A big contract, very well deserved. L'Jarius Sneed, who sounds like he's gonna get traded just in the next coming days. We're just kind of waiting for the announcement. Sounds like he's on his way to the Colts, but I guess we don't really know how credible, of course, these sources are until it actually happens. What do you think goes on with Sneed?
Um, I think that the Chiefs are very aware of the fact they're not going to be able to bring him back next year. Very unlikely. I think they're definitely also. I think that their willingness to not be as committed to being a win now team last midseason when they had Cortland Sutton available for a third round pick. This was like 6 games in or 7 games into the season where they were like really bad at wide receiver, and if they didn't fix anything, they weren't going to be able to do anything.
Yeah.
Not making a trade for Sutton, not dealing away some other guys. They had a lot of opportunities to make their team a more win now, and they didn't do that.
Hmm.
I think we're starting to see them have a combination of let's pick up guys that are ready to win now, and we also want to keep adding through the draft. So I think that the Chiefs, they know they're going to lose him next year. They're not going to re-sign him. I think they're going to deal him away, but I think the possibility of a deal happening is very unlikely because of the reports that came out yesterday saying that the Chiefs and Colts have already reached an agreement on draft compensation. It's literally just Snead and the Colts
Hmm.
stalling because they're unable to agree on the contract.
Yeah.
He wants a huge contract. I don't think the Colts are willing to give him the contract he wants. I think he's going to end up having to stay in KC because of the fact no team is going to want to pay him what he wants.
Yeah.
So just it's really rough for the Chiefs. If they had a choice, they would have already gotten rid of him.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, I also do think, it's really rare. I feel like we see players play on the tag, but Snead, if he does stay in KC, I do see him play on the tag. The tag is worth $19.8 million. Chiefs are trying to three-peat. And so I think Snead would love to be part of that. So even if they don't work something out, I honestly do think that Snead would be the type to play on the tag, play for the Chiefs one last year, and then hit free agency next year and see. I mean, if he plays he plays really well, somebody's gonna throw a bag at him and he's gonna take it. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that does play out. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he plays on the tag or if he gets traded, frankly. The next, I guess, is Kendall Fuller, who went to the Dolphins, kind of the replacement for Xavier Howard, which he's definitely better. He's a serviceable cornerback. It's tough to be a good corner in this league. 2 years, 16.5 million. I think that's a really good price for Kendall Fuller.
I was surprised my Steelers were unwilling to pick up on Fuller. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie to you. I was kind of
Yeah.
disappointed. I think he's been a really slept on corner for a couple
Yeah.
years now. Had a really good sneaky season a couple years back. This season, I mean, he was just as solid as he has been. So yeah, I thought that was a really good pickup for the Dolphins. You got him on a really cheap deal, short term, so you're not locked into big money in any way. So I'm just surprised a lot of other teams didn't pick up on him. You know, even the
Yeah,
Lions too.
absolutely.
Oh, talking about the Lions, what do you think about that Carlton Davis trade?
Ah,
Kind of out of the blue. I didn't.
yeah, that's for really out of the blue. I don't know. Carlton Davis, he's a serviceable cornerback. Again, we're saying like you need guys that are going to be able to play. They also got, Meek Robertson. So I just feel like the Lions, though, they need that like shut down number one cornerback. Just having a bunch of these just serviceable guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not gonna push them to that next level. So I would love to see them if they can go out and get a Snead. It's a
Mhm.
good pickup. You can feel comfortable in that cornerback two position, but I think they really need that cornerback number one superstar.
I agree 1,000%. I was thinking the same thing when the trade first happened. I like it for them, the fact that they didn't give up a lot. A third round
Mhm.
pick got back Davis and two six overall picks, six round picks.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a pretty good trade for both sides. However, as you said, you're going to be comfortable in the CB2 position and the CB3 position. You have Cameron Sutton, you have Carlton Davis. As you said, where's the shutdown guy? I have a good feeling they're gonna go ahead and get him in the first round this year. Do they have a first round? I believe they
I
do.
believe so. Yeah, that could be interesting too if they put all their eggs in a basket and bank on a rookie cornerback. But with how good this class is, they very well could find that number one guy in the draft for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kenny Moore signs he's staying with the Colts. Makes sense. Probably the best slot corner in the league. Very
Yep.
valuable position. Um, and then who's still out there? Stephon Gilmore, who had a pretty quietly good season with Dallas. He's getting a little older, but still the word we've been saying, serviceable. It's just a lot of serviceable guys at this cornerback
Yeah.
position this year. Steven Nelson, he was with the Texans, I believe. He also,
Had
I
it. Yeah.
think, yeah, I'm surprised that a team that needs cornerback depth hasn't gone out and get him. Maybe your Steelers even.
hmm I'm more shocked that not even the guys are getting picked up to be play in a playing role. I'm
Mhm.
surprised these guys aren't even being picked up to be kind of a mentor. I
That's
really,
yeah, Gilmore
I really
especially.
expected the Commanders, who people have been saying they've been picking up a lot of mid. I was kind of thinking to myself, you have not picked up Gilmore yet to help mentor Emmanuel Forbes, who was god awful last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
I'm really shocked by that. I think Gilmore will eventually be picked up. I don't know. I agree with you. Nelson had a really sneaky good year, but the way, as you said, the safety market's being fluctuated right now, a lot of players still there. I wouldn't be surprised to see both of these guys not get picked up, but I think they eventually will be. It's just gonna be for really cheap, real
Yeah.
cheap.
I mean, who do the Bengals have at cornerback? They lost to Uzier. Maybe I mean I
And
could
Killer Britt, that's about it.
yeah, I mean they could definitely use one of those
Uh,
guys for sure. I think that'd be solid. If the Chiefs end up trading Snead, they can maybe pick up Gilmore. I'm sure he would love to be a
mhm,
part of a championship team. He won one with the Patriots, but hey, why not add another Super Bowl to that Hall of Fame resume? I think
right.
alrighty. So that's pretty much gonna rounded off for the cornerback position. Again, just a lot of serviceable guys still out there for sure. And now the safeties. We talked a lot about the safeties last time, how there's so much talent, but it seems like names aren't getting crossed off the board, or I guess big names, as fast as we thought they would. The biggest one I'm talking about, Justin Simmons. He's still yet to be signed. I wonder if it's that price tag that teams are just unwilling to pay for a safety, or what it is. But yeah, I think that's kind of interesting.
It's absolutely the project, the price tag. Jake L. Fisher on X tweeted the other day, his price tag was $15 to $16 million. Teams
Yeah.
were really swayed away from that. He's obviously still an elite safety, but teams don't view him as the same anymore. He slowly aging. He just got cut. That's their whole bargain chip. You just got cut. You just got a big guaranteed bonus. Why are you still trying to take this big contract type of deal?
Yeah.
It was the
Yeah.
opposite of Russ. Well, Russ was like, "Oh, I got my 40 guaranteed now. I'm just gonna take a minimum." You
Yeah.
know, good teams that were in the market for Justin Simmons expected him to kind of be in the same mindset. Let me go compete. Let me go get a decent
Mhm.
contract. But no, he's like, I still want a big bag. I think that's his problem. I did see a couple teams that were interested. I believe it was the Titans, the Steelers, the Jags, and I forgot what NFC team. I just think whoever's has the most cap space and is willing to make the move will do it. I think it's gonna take a while for him to get signed. I don't think he's signing anytime soon.
Yeah. I agree with that, and I mean, especially when you see guys like Xavier McKinney, who we've talked about a lot this episode. He got a big bag. Cameron Curl, the numbers are not yet, but he signed a 2-year deal with the Rams. Very underrated signing. I like that as well for them. But other than that, like, yeah, nothing really league shattering. I guess Gardner Johnson, 3 years, 33 to Philly. A guy who, a team that we thought would be in the Simmons sweepstakes, who I feel like they still might be, if there might be some interest still. I think, the secondary was just really bad last season for Philly, so you might as well
Yeah.
overpay than struggle again.
Yeah, man, a lot of these older guys are just they're not even old. They're just getting completely out. They're getting completely not looked at all. I mean,
Mhm.
when I think of that, when I think of the safety market, I think Eddie Jackson, elite 2 years ago, struggled terribly last year. Now he's like 30 and teams aren't even calling him up at all. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, it's kind of
it's just
sad. It's kind of sad.
it's really sad. Yeah, I mean, first team All Pro 2020, 2018. And I mean, it was just, yeah. And now that you had brought up Xavier McKinney, I just kind of thought to myself, Simmons is asking 15, 16 million, but he's older now, and McKinney just got 17. Yeah, I don't think I want Simmons for any more than 13 at this point, to be
That's
honest.
fair. Yeah, honestly, even if it's like a 1-2 year deal, I think for Simmons. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that market ends up for him. Let's see who else. Jordan Whitehead, who you talked about a lot on the last pod. He's going back to Tampa Bay. Was playing for Tampa Bay, played for the Jets 1 year, and then now he got a 2-year deal for $9 million back in Tampa Bay. That's a good signing, I think, for Tampa Bay, who's trying to compete in that weak division.
Right. No, I agree with
Um,
that. Honestly, I think he took a hometown discount because
mhm.
of being Tampa Bay. But I think his value is around that area. He didn't play in a full-time role in New York. He had the 5 interceptions, but I thought that was a sneaky solid pickup. You just get a guy you're very familiar with, nothing too crazy, nothing too special.
Yeah. And then Jordan Poyer to the Dolphins. Again, he's a guy who's kind of hitting that veteran age, that old age, where teams is kind of tough for him to get signed, but he signed a 1-year deal with Miami, which could end up being solid for them. They've been really kind of beefing up their secondary, it seems. And then his buddy Micah Hyde is still out there though. Jeremy Chin to the Commanders. I really like Jeremy Chin, dude. 1 year, $5 million. The only problem with him though is he just can't stay on the field.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree. There's a lot. I remember like a couple years back, or 3 years back now at this point, Jeremy Chin, his rookie year, like gathered a lot of hype. Like the
Yeah.
Panthers really thought they had like their franchise safety guy. And at the same time, Dante Jackson was appearing in the show as well. And they still had I forgot who at linebacker. It wasn't I forgot the white guy, the Hall of Famer. It
Kuechly?
wasn't, but it was a
Thomas Davis?
maybe Thomas Davis, yeah, if he was there at that time. But no, regardless, yeah, I really like Jeremy Chin. Very cheap contract,
Hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
1 year deal. There's not a lot of risk there. If you
Yeah.
don't
It
want
seems kind of like a prove it deal. It's for him to just kind of,
exactly,
yeah.
yeah.
And then yeah, other than that, oh, I guess Kevin Byard to the Bears, 2 years, 15 million. I like that for the Bears. Chicago, they've been on the move. They've been making
Yeah.
moves. And I think that we'll cap off the safeties there. You got some time if you want to go on ahead. You want to talk about the Chicago Pittsburgh trade, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson. What is going on in Pittsburgh? The floor is yours, Levron.
You know what? I completely forgot about that until you just brought up the Bears signing Bayard, and they've been making moves lately. And I just remembered, oh crap, making moves. We just traded for their guy. Um, I don't like it.
Roll.
Here's what I'll say. Um, it's good if you're able to make something out of him. My problem is I don't think they're gonna be able to make anything out of him. Justin Fields is I don't want to go crazy on a rant, but he's not that guy. And I don't think he ever will be that guy. It's been 3 long years now. He's proved nothing but the fact that he can just rush to football. He's been surrounded every year that he was on the Bears. Every year, they gathered more support from him. They built up the offense to be better around him. It has worked. He's slightly gotten better. It's not the improvement they wanted to see. Next year, he has a contract year. Average quarterbacks are getting paid $35, $40 million a year. So for the Bears, the question was, do you want to skip out on a generational talent in Caleb Williams and then next year have to sign Justin Fields for at least $35 million? That's why they dealt him away so easily. For a 4th-round pick max, I think if we're able to make him decent, sure. But is a decent Justin Fields gonna make a decent Steelers team be competitive for the next 10 years for a Super Bowl? No, I don't think it's happening. I think it's just a trial. See what he's got. Work under Wilson for 1 year. Next year you start, you're not good. Just get out of here. I didn't like it. I guess for the value it's fine, but I just don't think Justin Fields is that guy. I don't think that I think there's a reason why a lot of teams didn't bite on him. It was pretty fast in the free agency this year where all the teams that were interested quickly just walked right past him and said, yeah, we're just gonna go this route. Let's not take the risk. So I think there's a reason why he went for so cheap. We just happen to be that dumb team to pick up on a really bad QB. So that's my thoughts about it.
Alrighty, well, there you are. Yeah, I thought it was interesting, especially because they already made a move for Wilson, and I kind of thought I was like maybe they make a move for Fields, but I don't know. They already gave up capital, or I guess they didn't really trade for him, so I guess yeah, it makes sense. I mean, Wilson was just a cheap guy. Alrighty, so that's gonna wrap up the free agent episode. Finally, we get to it. It's been a long journey. Next week we'll probably get into more draft content, which is gonna be a lot of fun. Hopefully, I have another good game for y'all. And yeah, any last words, Mr. Levron?
No, sir. Just a heck of an episode, a heck of a series, I guess we'd say.
Yeah,
Now we're
yeah.
kind of done with free agency. I guess we're moving on to the draft now.
Oh yeah, draft season coming
Oh,
up right around the corner. Alrighty,
yeah.
we'll see y'all in the next episode. This was the Run Amok Sunday show. Wow, what an
Thank you for
episode!
having me on.
Of course,
Appreciate
of course. See you next week, Levron. See y'all at home next week. Check out the links in the description. And yeah, this was fun. Alrighty, peace out.